dugsiga boardingka iyo maalinlaha ah ee Amano Boarding and Day School.
Welcome to our social studies lesson. My name is Teacher Eric. We shall be looking at the United Nations. Remember last time we looked at the United Nations, where, how it was formed, when it was formed, its headquarters, remember that, in New York, USA. And we also looked at the agencies or the organs also of the United Nations. Now, as we continue looking at the agencies of the United Nations, which include the Food and Agriculture Organization, which include the World Health Organization, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, the UNHCR, we looked at what they do, where their headquarters are, and how important they are. So that is under chapter 5. Today we shall be looking at the problems facing the United Nations. United Nations has done a lot, but still there are some setbacks, there are some problems that it faces each and every day. Now before that, there is some news for you, and here we go. You have an examination, cycle 1 exam. You've been told, your parents have been told about it. Commencing Saturday next week, you have examination cycle 1. Now on Saturday you have English. Note the date and the time, 9 to 11 a.m. Sunday you have social studies. Monday the 11th you have mathematics. Tuesday you have science. Wednesday you have Arabic. And finally on Saturday you have Tarbiyah, you have Islamic. So ensure that you are glued to your gadgets, you have internet accessibility, so that you can do or you can attempt this examination in the right time. Now going ahead, I remember we have said that we are looking at the problems that are facing the United Nations organization. Then later on we shall look at the achievements, things that the United Nations has done successfully. Now, beginning with the problems, what do you think are the problems of the United Nations? Remember, when we talked about the formation of the United Nations in 1945, its aim or objective was to stop war. It was meant to prevent another war. It was meant to ensure that all the rights of all the human beings around the globe are respected. Has it done that? Now, what happens is, what some of you do not know, that every country, remember, out of the 195 countries in the whole world, normally they contribute some amount of money to the United Nations every year. But the problem is that some countries do not usually keep time, some countries do not contribute enough money, and among other problems that we shall be looking at, the United Nations, in order to run smoothly, there has to be funds, there has to be money, right? How can it help to provide food in the whole world if there is no money to buy the food, if there is no money to ensure that there are seeds, there is fertilizer, among others? So it needs funds. Now we shall look at these problems one by one. Here they are. One, some member states, when I talk about member states, are member countries. So some member states do not pay their money on time, while others contribute less money. Remember I said this, that every country pays some money to the United Nations in order to be able to carry out its activities. So if a country fails to pay their money, it means that the United Nations will be running on a loss. They will not have any funds. So some member countries do not pay, while others do not even pay on time. Then number two, the point number 2, under problems facing the United Nations organization, the UN is United Nations, for those of you who have forgotten. The UN does not have its own army or military. Suppose a country like Russia has attacked another country. The UN does not have its army to go and attack Russia, to go and protect that country. So what they do, they will only try to condemn, they will only try to talk to Russia to stop attacking another country, but they cannot go there. Like the war which is actually presently between the Palestinians and the Israelis. You see, they keep fighting, yes, but the UN only condemns. It cannot move in with its army to ensure that there is peace. So the UN does not have an army of its own. Then 3, the veto power. Remember last time we talked about veto power. Veto power. These are countries that have power to attack another country that is violating the rights of its people or the rights of another country. If a country, for example, attacks another country, then one of the veto powers can come in to help. And these veto powers, as you can still remember them, we had Russia, we have France, we have UK, we have USA, and we have China. 5. Right. So these veto power countries act without consulting smaller countries. Like they can just come in and attack without consulting other countries, other smaller countries in the UN Security Council. Now these veto powers, remember last time we said that they are the permanent members of the Security Council. But there are some other members. Now they must be asked. To consult is like to try and ask, to try and discuss. When I come to consult you about something, for example, when you come to teachers to consult about a given subject, it means you want to know what would happen, how it is done. So these veto powers do not consult other smaller countries who are members of the UN Security Council. It is a big problem. They go, they violate even the human rights while trying to act, trying to protect other countries. Now, having said that, look at the achievements. We have looked at the problems. We have looked at now the UN does not have its army. The UN, some countries do not contribute a lot of money to the UN. Some veto power countries do not consult smaller countries. They just attack without consulting. Those are the problems of the UN. But does it have achievements? What are some of the good things that the UN has been able to do? The UN has done very tremendous things, very good things, a lot of good things. But now, what are they? One, here we said that the UNO, United Nations Organization, helped many countries around the world to get independence. Remember, it was formed in 1945, while very many countries in Africa got independence around 1960 onwards. That means that they were helped by the United Nations Organization. So it helped many countries to get independence. Somaliland, for example, got independence in 1960, while the UNO was formed in 1945. So that means that it helped even Somaliland to get independence. Kenya, for example, got independence in the year 1963. That means that the UNO also helped it to get independence. Good. Number 2, the UNO has solved conflict or war between countries around the world. There has been war between very many countries, but the UNO has been able to come in to help solve the conflict. The Persian, the Gulf War, all those wars that were fought, the UNO came in, talked to both sides that were fighting, then the war stopped. Another thing is about the UNO has ensured that the rights of all people around the world are respected and protected. In fact, that is the main aim for the formation of the UNO. So it has ensured that the rights of all the people around the world are protected and respected. Okay? Now, if you try to look at what the UN has done in terms of helping the refugees, people who are affected by war, there are these tents, the tents, those smaller tents, the makeshift. In fact, one of them is written UNHCR, United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Whenever they run away during war, they come and they are given shelter, a place where they can stay. They are also given food. So the UN has played a very important role in trying to ensure that all the rights of human beings are respected. Another refugee camp is here a picture showing a refugee camp having those many tents, the makeshifts. They are normally constructed by the UN agency, that is the UNHCR. Then look at another one again here. The UNO has ensured that there is democracy among the member states, where now leaders can be chosen without any problem, without any fight. The UNO has funded projects in developing countries. To fund means to give money for a certain project. The UNO has funded, meaning that it has given money for projects to be done. For example, we talk about a country making roads, constructing offices, buildings. Where do they get the money? The UN has helped them to come up with these projects. Nomadic people, for example, they have been given funds to ensure that there are water outlets, water sources for the animals to get enough water. There are dams, schools that have been built in developing countries, especially in Africa and Asia and Southern America. Now, lastly, the World Health Organization has also managed to control many diseases like malaria, which has been a menace, especially in Africa and in tropical countries. So that means that the UNO has tried to control them. It has also introduced vaccination programs among children. And these vaccination programs have helped children to overcome some deadly diseases, some deadly viral diseases. So the UNO has really helped. Now, among its other achievements that we've seen, it's important as a student to note that though there are problems with the UN, it has also managed to do very many things, stopping war. It has funded projects. It has ensured that there's democracy around the world in many countries. It has ensured that all the rights of all human beings are respected. Now, with that, we come to a conclusion, to the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching. Have a nice time.